Okay, it's recording.
Great. All right. So, would you like to introduce yourself to our lovely audience?
Yes, my name is Ms. Lopez. I am a history teacher at King Drew.
Great. All right.
Added there.
Great. And so, our first question would be, why did you choose teaching at our school?
Well, the first thing that always comes up for me is that I was a student at King Drew once. I came to King Drew. I was here in 2006. I didn't graduate from King Drew, but I was here for some time. And I got to experience firsthand what it's like to have the resources and the community at King Drew. And I also got to experience what it's like to not have those, to be in other high schools and have not the community, not the space, not the resources that we have here. And then I grew up around the neighborhood. So I grew up not so far from Drew. And for me, that was really important to come back and teach near my community because I think I reflect a lot of what our communities look like. I look like people that look like me, that have similar experiences as me. And to be a history teacher with those similar experiences was so important for me to come back and provide that sense for the youth here.
Great. Next would be, how do you maintain good relationships with your students?
Oh man, how do I maintain good relationships? I think, well, first is always remembering to like treat students like as human beings. Like y'all are just human beings coming on campus. And this is specifically before the pandemic, right? Before the pandemic, I would be at the door greeting everybody, asking them about their day, how's it going, checking in with people about their everyday lives and likes and things that they enjoy in their life outside of school. It's a little bit more difficult during the pandemic because of course we're all online. I don't get to see the majority of my students. I don't force people to turn on their cameras. So it's a little bit more difficult to get to know my students. So it's become a little bit more of a challenge to keep maintaining a good relationship. So that's been something that I've thought about all year long. Like, how do I check in and say, hey, how's your day? Put it in the chat. Let me know what did you celebrate this weekend? That's my favorite question. What did you celebrate this weekend? So I feel like just treating my students like human beings and giving them the respect of a human being and letting them know that I expect the same thing from them. So I think that maintains a good, back and forth relationship where, hey, I expect respect because I give you respect. So we're going to respect each other in this classroom. And that really helps maintain a good relationship in the classroom.
Yeah, that's a really good response. I think a lot of teachers sometimes forget that, even though they already went through high school, their experiences were probably way different than ours. And they kind of just go with it. They just teach and go home. They kind of forget about the relationship part between your kids.
Yeah, and I think it goes both ways. I always tell my students, you can ask me about my weekend, remember that I don't live at King Drew. Like I also have things going on. And I think when you remember that, I also remember to do that with you all. So that's really important for both ways of the relationship.
Yeah. All right. And next would be, what are some key points that you want your students to take away from your class?
Oh man. That no matter where they go and no matter what they do, they have the power to make the world a better place. No matter what you do, no matter where you go, literally anywhere that you go and anywhere that you do, you have the power to make the world a better place. So that's the major thing. And I think as a history teacher, I obviously want to put the content in there and remind them like, yeah, there's of course the amazingness of Martin Luther King, and then there's Ella Baker, right? And then there's Cesar Chavez, but there's also the thousands and thousands of people that supported them, that were on the marches, that stood up for what was right in the world. Nelson Mandela in South Africa, right? Like Berta Cáceres in Honduras. Like it wasn't just these amazing leaders, but it was everyday people, from the people that cooked lunch for people that went on a march to that gave water bottles, that maybe worked at a fast food restaurant and provided something that no matter what you do and where you go, whatever industry you end up in, you have the power to make the world a better place. And I think that that's the most important thing for me. And then it doesn't start in the future. Like, it starts in the classroom, in the way we treat each other and the way we talk about each other. So that's the biggest takeaway. Like, go on and make the world a better place. And that, if that's what you got from history class, I am happy beyond anything.
Yeah, it's good for, the kids to not only learn about, the things that they're required to learn, but, little life lessons, and I think it's good that a lot of the teachers at our school have been doing that. So it's good to hear that.
Yeah, so important. I mean, there's so much going on in the world all the time that can be so heavy and hard and difficult. And there's always so much joy and power that we should remember that we are all capable of, to make this not such a hard and difficult life for all of us.
Agreed. All right. Next would be, what are some challenges you've experienced with distance learning and how you've adapted to it?
My biggest challenge is not being able to see my students. And I love having Socratic seminars, debates, conversations. I love to have small groups. I love to see people develop friendships in those small groups. So, and being able to support that for students. So that's been the most difficult thing, I would say, is not being able to give that space like I used to. And I think that affects the relationship that I have with my students, or the relationship that students have with each other. They aren't able to, just talk with their friends next to them, right, in the class, and ask for support. So I think that has been difficult, and also trying to support the social emotional component. There's been a pandemic. So many of the students have been affected by either some losing a family member to COVID, or being negatively affected by the pandemic in some way or form. So when I teach, I don't only like to think about, we're going to learn today about the U.S. Constitution, or we're going to learn about the Great Depression, right? I got to keep in mind that there's stuff going on at home, and there's stuff that it might be difficult, that, you're sitting in front of a computer, but there might be things going on around you that are difficult. So that has been the most challenging thing for me, and keeping that in mind. And how do I, reformulate how I check in with the students, reformulate how much work I give, or how much work I don't give, or how much I lecture. And I'm like, is anybody listening to me out there in the lecture, right? And how engaging it could be. The way I've adapted to all of that is, we still have some group discussions. I think that in high school settings, especially juniors and seniors, y'all are more likely to talk to each other in small groups. You miss each other. You're like, okay, we'll talk in a small group. So it makes it a little bit more fun and engaging to have this. In another way, when it comes to the, I think, social emotional component, I tried to check in with other teachers about students, like, hey, I know you have so-and-so. Have you heard from them? Have you checked in from them? Or even checked in with the resources we have, our schools, right, with our PSW or counselors. I think that that has been something that I've tried to really keep in mind. And how do we, if we need to check in about someone, how do I talk to a colleague of mine and say, hey, have you heard of them, or talk to a student that might need a little extra support. Engagement, technology here and there, trying to make it a little bit more fun, trying to have more conversations in the chat on Zoom. It's not the same, but we're trying our best with it all. Yeah,
I think that's really good that even though we're only talking through a screen, teachers are still trying their best to get their kids to, do what they need to do, but also not forget that you're still human. It's totally fine if you're like frustrated or anxious or whatever it is that you have going on.
Yeah. Trying our best with.
Yeah. Okay. And then next would be, just what do you enjoy, doing in your free time that you would like to share?
What do I enjoy doing on your free time? Yeah, remember that your teachers are human and they like to do stuff. I've recently gotten into skating. I like to roller skate, so I've been roller skating a lot. Before I was a history teacher, I was a music teacher. So I used to teach piano and guitar. So every now and then I still pick up the piano and guitar and play something. Miss Woodleaf actually let me borrow one of her pianos, and I have a piano in the classroom right now that I just is there, for when I need to get up and play some music. So that's what I like to do on my free time, and a lot of hiking, a lot of nature, a lot of outdoors. Like I love to go to national parks and go on a walk, be outdoors as much as possible.
All right. And lastly, do you have any advice that you want to share or some words of wisdom for incoming students?
For incoming students, oh man. I remember being a ninth grader and having no friends in this school, and coming from a middle school that I wasn't sure what this experience would be like. So my advice would be to not be shy of making new friends, or saying hi to people goes a long way. Just saying hi, good morning, keeping your head up high, trusting who you are, trusting that this is your school and that you will make new relationships here. So my advice is say hi, say good morning, especially if teachers are saying hi and good morning to you. Go ahead and say hi and good morning. You show up and you take up that space, because this is now your school. So you're not just coming up to someone else's school. So you're a ninth grader here now. This is your school. So own it, and know that if you need support, there are people here that are here to support you. So a way to be successful here at King Drew is to know how to talk to your teachers, know how to talk to your counselor, and how to talk to your classmates when you need the support that you need. That's my advice.
That's really good advice. I wish somebody told me that back in ninth grade, because I remember walking in and I was super nervous. I came from Compton Unified. So I was completely new. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody. And I think as time went on, I definitely did, work on it more and made, new friends along the way. And now it's almost over.
Yeah, it's saying good morning goes a long way, just because you might not be the only one feeling that, and you're actually not going to be the only one feeling that. So many people feel like that, so many ninth graders, because King Drew is one of those schools that has students from all over the district coming over. So yeah, a lot of people don't know a lot of people there, and you get to make new friends by just saying hi in the morning.
Yeah, being friendly is always good.
Yeah.
All right. If there's anything else that you would like to share, go for it. But other than that, we're done.
Okay, cool. I'll press stop here.